The Charles family is the main focus of the piano lesson, and the focus on the group's history proves that the Charles family tree spans far beyond Boy Willie and Bernice. Throughout the piano lesson, the history of the titular piano reveals that the Charles family is absolutely massive, with Doka Charles constantly telling stories about the various generations of Charles relatives. So, here is a full breakdown of every named member of the Charles family tree that is mentioned in the piano lesson and how they relate to one another. 2024 has brought with it the latest adaptation of one of August Wilson's acclaimed plays, with it this time being in the form of director Malcolm Washington's The Piano Lesson. The film follows a feuding family who cannot decide what to do with a piano that is an heirloom from their enslaved ancestors, with the cast of The Piano Lesson mostly consisting of characters from the Charles family. While the feud is mainly between two siblings, Boy Willie and Bernice, several other family members get involved, making the conflict even bigger. Boy Willie Charles, John David Washington. Brother of Bernice, nephew of Doka, uncle of Maritha. One of the protagonists of The Piano Lesson is Boy Willie Charles, played by John David Washington. Boy Willie Charles is the brother of Bernice Charles, with their father Boy Charles being deceased before the events of the piano lesson kick off. Boy Charles died after stealing the titular piano from the slave owner Sutter, with Boy Willie seeing him for the last time when he was very young. Boy Willie is unmarried and has spent most of his life getting into trouble with his friend and business partner, Lyman. Boy Willie is the nephew of Doka Charles, who lives with Bernice, as well as Doka's older brother Whining Boy. Boy Willie is also the uncle of Bernice's daughter, Maritha. Boy Willie has been gone for much longer than the rest of the Charles family, with him not being as ingrained into the family as his sister. Bernice Charles, Danielle Deadweiler. Sister of Boy Willie, mother of Maritha, niece of Doka. Danielle Deadweiler as Bernice in The Piano Lesson. Bernice Charles, played by Danielle Deadweiler, is the other protagonist of The Piano Lesson, with her not wanting to sell the titular piano. Bernice is the older brother of Boy Willie, with her often talking down to him and believing he had a role in the death of her late husband, Crawley. Bernice lives with her 11-year-old daughter Maritha, as well as her uncle Doka, with Boy Willie staying in their home upon his arrival in town. Bernice is also the daughter of Boy Charles and the niece of Whining Boy. Doka Charles, Samuel L. Jackson. Uncle of Boy Willie and Bernice, brother of Whining Boy. When it comes to the Charles family tree, Samuel L. Jackson's Doka Charles is the family member who knows the most about it. Samuel L. Jackson's age and familial connections allows him to constantly tell stories about the history of the piano and how it got to where it is today. Doka is the uncle of Boy Willie and Bernice, as well as the great-uncle of Maritha, although he acts like a father figure to her due to the death of Crawley. Doka also has an older brother named Whining Boy Charles, with Whining Boy coming by to visit during the events of the piano lesson. Maritha Charles, Skylar Elise Smith. Daughter of Bernice, niece of Boy Willie. John David Washington puts his hands on a piano with a family member in the piano lesson. Maritha Charles, played by Skylar Elise Smith, is the youngest member of the Charles family. Maritha is the daughter of Bernice Charles, and while Bernice does give Maritha lessons on the family piano, she intentionally keeps the history of the piano a secret from her. Maritha Charles is also the daughter of the late Crawley, who died during an event with her uncle Boy Willie. Maritha is also the great-niece of Doka Charles, although he acts more like a father figure to her, as well as the great-niece of Whining Boy Charles. Boy Charles, Stephen James. Father of Boy Willie and Bernice. The family gathered around the piano in the piano lesson. Boy Charles, played by Stephen James, is one of the most important characters in the piano lesson, although he isn't in it very much. Boy Charles is the father of Boy Willie and Bernice, although he was killed after stealing Sutter's piano when the children were very young. The death of Boy Charles is one of the events that tore the family apart, with Bernice believing that Boy Willie's grief led him to kill Sutter. However, Boy Willie blames the ghosts of the yellow dog, something that becomes more likely after Sutter's ghost begins appearing. Crawley, Matrell Smith. Husband of Bernice, father of Maritha. Woman getting baptized in the piano lesson image via Netflix. Crawley, played by Matrell Smith, is the late husband of Bernice Charles and father of Maritha Charles, with him having tragically died before the event of the piano lesson. Crawley helped Boy Willie and Lyman with a scheme to steal some wood, although things went wrong when they were caught and Crawley was killed. Bernice blames Boy Willie for the death of Crawley, saying that she dragged him into his scheme, while Boy Willie claims that Crawley knew what he was getting into. Either way, Crawley only appears in flashbacks in the piano lesson. Whining Boy Charles, Michael Potts. Brother of Doka, husband of Cleotha. Members of the Charles family in the kitchen in the piano lesson image via Netflix. Another major member of the Charles family tree is Whining Boy Charles, played by Michael Potts. Whining Boy is the older brother of Doka Charles, with him dropping by for the first time in a while during the events of the piano lesson. Whining Boy attempts to come off as a professional musician and successful gambler, with him and Lyman becoming close throughout the film. Whining Boy is also the uncle of Boy Willie and Bernice and the great-uncle of Maritha, although his distance from the family means they aren't quite as close.